In this movie we will discuss what is meant by the scope of a variable. The scope of a variable will determine how available it is throughout the code. The key to declaring a variable scope is the location of the variable declaration statement itself. We'll take a look at this. First, on this form I have two text boxes which will accept some numbers. The add button will then take the two numbers and add them together and display it in the label adjacent to the add button. Now let's take a look at the code that I've already added to the add button procedure. There are three basic steps here. The first step is to declare the local variables. That's being done here with the three dim statements. The three variables are num1 integer, num2 integer, and result integer. These three variables are said to be local variables because their dim statements are within the add button click procedure. That is to say that these three variables are only available within this procedure. If you attempt to use them outside of this procedure, you will get an error message since they are not declared to that particular procedure. We'll take a look at that error in a minute. The second step is taking the data that's in the text boxes and placing it in the variables. We'll take a closer look at this code in another movie. Moving to the third step, which is to calculate the result and display that answer, we have a simple add statement that's adding the two variables together, num1 integer plus num2 integer, and that answer is being stored in a third variable, result integer. Again, note that these three variables are being used in this statement. And then finally, the result integer is then being placed in the result label text property. So let's take a look at this code at execution time. We're now running the program. If I enter the number 5 and the number 7 and click the add button, it correctly adds the two numbers together and displays the number 12. Now, what we're trying to demonstrate here is the fact that these variables are only available to the add button click procedure. If, for example, I were to create another button, I'll go back to the form and just add another button to the form, and I won't bother renaming it at this point because this is going to be a quick demonstration of how the variable is not available to it. I will open it up, and now I have a separate code procedure. If I were to try to now display, I'll just take this line of code and copy it and paste it in the new procedure. You'll notice as soon as I finish entering that text, I get a blue underline underneath result integer. Recognize that result integer is declared in the add button procedure. It is not declared in the button one click procedure. If I hover the mouse over the blue line, it tells me that result integer is not declared. That is to say, it's not declared within this specific procedure. Now, to quickly demonstrate the difference between a local variable and a module level variable or form level variable, I could take the dim statement for the result integer and I will cut this and paste it above the add button click procedure, and it's now in what's referred to as the general declarations area. And you will notice that that blue line has now gone away. That is to say that this variable result integer is now available to the entire form. It is available within this procedure, and it's also available within this procedure. Now there are some implications as to whether you make a local variable or a form level variable, and that also will be discussed at a later time. But for now, remember the most important thing is where you declare your variables. And the general rule is this: try to make your variables as local as possible. That is to say, you should try to solve your problem creating or using local variables before you resort to using form level variables.